Throughout the ages and times, and in the various transitional and pivotal events in the history of peoples and nations, the great changes were behind leaders and leaders who were the most prominent element in making that change, and that decisive point in that history. And if we look in the different pages of history we will see that, but in this article I will present a group one of the most prominent leaders in modern and contemporary history who made a turning point in the history of their peoples, or in the history of humanity as a whole, whether a positive change contributed to the development and advancement of their countries and peoples and positively affected various parts of the world, or a negative change contributed to the destruction and dissolution of their countries and societies and negatively affected in different parts of the world, and among those leaders and leaders, according to their dates of birth and periods of presence. Five important personalities who changed modern history. George Washington. The most important leaders of the United States of America, its first presidents, and its most prominent founders. He is also the godfather of the Americans. He is also considered the godfather of America's secession from the British Crown, the author of its Constitution, and the leader man who was accepted by all classes of Americans, and he who established during his leadership of America many precedents, customs and traditions of government that are still used in America today, such as the cabinet system, presidential swearing-in, and the title of president, and moreover, he established the principle of the peaceful transition of power from his presidency to John Adams and his retirement after 2 terms, a custom that has continued as law in the Constitution American until today. Joseph Stalin. Iron Man and the second leader of the Soviet Union, the man who moved the Soviet Union from an agricultural society to an industrial one, enabling the Soviet Union to win over the Axis powers in World War II, and rise to the rank of great powers that competed with the United States of America during the Cold War in the second half from the 20th century, although he was known for his authoritarianism and cruelty to the extent that his tyrannical policies led to the killing of millions of his people. Mahatma Gandhi. The father of the Indian nation, the chief leader of the Indian independence movement, and the chief architect of the form of non-violent civil disobedience that led to India's independence from Britain, Gandhi's pacifist form inspired many liberation and civil rights and freedom movements around the world. The politician who led national campaigns to reduce poverty and the poor in his society, put an end to ostracism and increased self-reliance economically. He is the Indian politician who rejected the partition of India and called for restoring national unity and respect for the rights of the Muslim minority by the Hindu majority. Adolf Hitler. One of the most prominent dictatorial and racist faces in human history and the igniter of its largest war, the Second World War, which caused the deaths of more than 60 million people, from different continents of the world, and that war that Hitler ignited was the reason for forming the map of the modern world and created the bipolar conflict. He is also the leader of the German Nazi Party, known for his modernism and extremist ideas. Yes, Hitler was trying to improve his country's political and economic conditions and he aspired to make his country a great power, but he erred in the way he tried to achieve his goal through. Nelson Mandela. One of the most prominent icons of struggle in the world, and the heroic African leader who struggled for many years in defense of his principles, values and the rights of his people. A leader who spent more than 27 years in prison because of his struggle when the African continent was under colonialism, which robbed African citizens of their political, social and economic rights. This led to the emergence of multiple liberation movements that included courageous and militant personalities, And one of these figures was Mandela, who made an indelible mark on human history. He is also considered one of the most important figures fighting for black rights and fighting racism in the world. These are not only the most prominent personalities and leaders who made history, but there are many personalities, whether in ancient, modern or contemporary history, whose achievements varied, but they were truly dividing points that created a new reality and a great change. There is Bismarck in Germany, Ataturk in Turkey, and many others that an article like this cannot be able to list and narrate what they achieved. And yes, we can say that there is a great influence of philosophers, thinkers, intellectuals and also clerics on peoples, and the contribution of in changing events and creating awareness among the masses, but leaders are the ones who have the power to make decisions and mobilize the masses. Witness to that,